Hi, and welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, a whole food plant-based culinary coach, and a master herbalist. And I'm here with Dan, an exercise specialist and a wonderful master herbalist. Together, we dive into the world of natural healing. We bring together a wealth of knowledge and practical advice. We draw from both traditional wisdom and modern science with herbs and foods to help you achieve optimal health. And today, we're tackling one of the most powerful and overlooked tools for healing. Our podcast is Plants for Healing, and it's the food on your plate. And so, if you're tired, you're inflamed, you're foggy, you're bloated, you're stuck on that blood sugar roller coaster, remember 93% of Americans are metabolically unwell. That means most likely you have a blood sugar problem. There's a good chance your healthy diet may be what's keeping you sick. And so let's talk about how we can use plants to help us to heal.
Yes, and if you think this is just one of those new trends, and there's so many trendy diets out there now, there's always trending diets, but this diet that we teach is not a trend. This is based in sound science and clinical evidence. A lot of these doctors have healed people with this diet, and so this is not a bunch of it's something that you can trust. So if you really are having health problems or you want to get healthy again, this is a good way to go.
Yeah, to us, it's the only way to go
Yeah, it is.
for healing and longevity, right? Yeah, so whole food plant-based, what does that mean? So whole food plant-based is no processed foods, no junk foods, no refined oils, which we keep hearing about seed oils. That's a very popular topic right now. And no animal products, which create inflammation in your system. And so, in animal products, it cracks me up, Dan. And so, I don't know if you feel the same way. I can't get over how many people will say, wait, what about this? What about that? Like, so what about eggs? Well, yes, eggs are an animal product. You don't eat cheese? No, cheese comes from animals. Cheese comes from milk, you know. And so, do you get the same thing?
I especially get it about fish. It seems like
Yeah.
the fish marketing, people don't realize that fish is animal food. I mean, that's why I really, they're like, what about fish though? I mean, well, I'm like, well, it's still an animal and it's
Yeah,
full, it's mercury and
plastics.
PCBs, yeah, plastics. So, I think people, and look, when I first started and you first started with this diet, I was lost. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, okay,
Yes, that's why we're talking about this today. I have
so
no idea, right?
I know. I was like, so
Yeah.
what did I eat now?
Yeah, what do I eat? I remember reading so many different, I read so many books and I still couldn't figure it out. For me, I knew I needed to eat this way and I kept, looking at it. How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And the kicker for me was reading How Not to Die, which Dr. Greger's book, and it was all about, the harmful effects of these foods and how you really need to focus on those foods. And I was like, but how? How do you do it? How do you even do it? And so that's why we wanted to talk about this because we were talking about eating those foods that repair our cells, repair any damaged DNA, help to clear the arteries. Did you know you can do that? I mean, I come from a world, so my master's is in health science, conventionally based medicine world, where we learned that there's no cure, and I still can't, you can't say the word cure, but once you have type 2 diabetes, you always have type 2 diabetes. Once you have autoimmune disease, which that's my history, you always have autoimmune disease. And now we know it's not just the food, but food's a huge, huge, huge part of it. You change the food, you can reverse that type 2 diabetes. You change the food, you can reverse those autoimmune antibodies. Now, there are other things that have to come into play as well, but those things, they're not only can they help you reverse those diseases, they can help you live a longer, healthier, more active life.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely not enough education about this because I feel like there's a pushback from big pharma and big agriculture. I mean, you got a lot of your meat and dairy, they have a lot of lobbyists in
Yeah, and
Washington.
eggs. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the egg board.
Yeah.
So they're fighting us tooth and nail. Like they don't want people to know that their foods may be making them sick. They would
Right.
rather them go to the doctor. Oh, well, your blood pressure's up, your cholesterol's up. You need to take these drugs. But they don't say, well, maybe you should
Yeah.
look at your diet and some of those foods may be your culprit. They don't say that. I mean, there are
Yes.
doctors now that are food doctors, but most of them aren't. Most of them are still in the conventional system of drugs and surgery.
Right. Yes. All the commercials, all the marketing ads we see, the boxes, the bags, they all promote big ag, animal foods, processed foods, and the medical system, drugs, meds. You know, how many pharmaceuticals, how many prescription meds do you know the names of? Like 20 years ago, we didn't know the names of prescription meds, right?
Yeah.
There were no commercials for these things. And so it all just feeds into each other. You eat the crappy food, you end up with the needing the meds. And so here today, we want to talk about how we can help you learn to eat these foods because in a regular day, I eat lots of greens, beans, fruits, seeds, herbs, nuts, sprouted grains sometimes. And I try not to eat any protein powders. And so a lot of people think that they have to eat protein powders. That's not true. They also think that they need to eat these fake meats. Those fake meats may be a good substitute for right now as you are transitioning into whole food plant based, but those are not healthy. And so, if we're talking about eating foods for healing, those fake meats are not good for you. If you are just learning how to remake your meals, then that's a good way to go. For me, it was great for me, just I would find the fake cheese, which doesn't taste good, or fake sausages, and things like that, which also did not taste good. um, it's better if you just learn to make foods where you don't need cheese, you don't need meat. For me, I was a big meat eater. I ate meat probably 3 times a day. My husband was a huge cheese eater. His nickname was King Cheese. And so it was how do we find foods that don't need meat or cheese? And so we would buy the fake cheese, buy the fake meat, and then it would taste like crap and wouldn't want to eat this way. But there are meals that we could eat spaghetti with marinara sauce. Hello. You don't need anything. A bean burrito. Hello. You don't need anything. You need a bean burrito without cheese. It does sound crazy to some people, but you can. I mean, you could eat a taco without cheese with beans instead of meat, stuff like that. So let's talk about how we can begin.
Well, I think first, I believe in, meatless Mondays, and I believe in eating more healthy food to your junk food. Now, at first, you're not, most people are not going to get rid of all the junk food cold turkey. The
Mhm.
ones that do usually fail because it's just too much too soon. S-
Exactly.
So I say add, you can have a plate with more vegetables and maybe something that's not so good for you, a smaller portion. This is for the first few weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I also started with meatless Mondays. So we had meatless Mondays, and then we would just have meat a couple of days a week. Then we would just have meat on the weekends. And then it got to where we only had meat when we went out to eat, which we would cook at home. And I know that that's not normal for everyone. I live in the middle of nowhere. It's so easy to cook at home because otherwise you have to drive an hour to get food. And so that makes it easy. But before we moved, we would go out to eat or order in several times a week. We'd get Chinese food one night, we would get Mexican food one night, we'd get sushi one night, things like that. Well, what we've learned is there are ways to make those vegan. So that's another way we can go too. Beyond that, for me, one of the easiest things or the best way for me to transition was to pick one meal. And so we were already down to, meatless Mondays. Let's say that's all you can do is meatless Mondays. Well, then pick a meal that you can do every day for a week with no animal products. And so, like for me, breakfast. Breakfast is super easy. Now, some people eat cold cereal. Cold cereal is a highly processed food. Please don't eat cold cereal. Yes, you can have cold cereal that is vegan, that is not whole food plant based. Where can you find corn flakes out in the field? Corn can grow out in the field, but they look nothing like a corn flake, right? And so even granola, store-bought granola has added sugar, has added oil. It's a highly processed food. It's not healthy. You could start there, but then you need to find a way to transition from that and not eat. If you're trying to heal, that is not a good food for you. That's not healthy at all. And so, if you do want something like that as you transition, switching your milk to a plant-based milk, which can also be tricky. It makes it really hard. It makes it sound like it's hard to go whole food plant-based. But if you're looking for a non-dairy milk to go on your processed cereal, you do need to read the labels because there are so many fillers and things like that in the milk. And so I don't want it to sound difficult. For me, I eat chia pudding. I have a chia pudding or a smoothie bowl. And I say smoothie bowl because I want you to chew. I don't want you to drink it through a straw, because then you're going to be hungry later. But making a chia pudding that's chunky, making a smoothie, make it thick by adding avocado or chia seeds and grinding it really well, but then top it with some berries and a couple of seeds, right? So then you're chewing, slows everything down, keeps your blood sugar from going up, and also keeps you fuller longer. Anyway, so my point was doing that, get master one meal a week. And then the next week, master another meal. Another thing that I did is I like to follow Dr. Joel Furman. We talked about him before we started recording. He was probably the first one that I really understood how to eat this way. And in his books is not 100% whole food plant based. So then I would get confused. And he said it's because it's just so difficult for people to go completely 100% whole food plant based. So if you're struggling, that would be a good way to start. But then you have to learn how to get rid of the meat from there. But he recommended that you have a large salad for a meal. And so for me, for I don't know how many years now, probably over 12 years, I've had a giant salad for lunch every single day. And if I travel and I don't have my salad, I'm like, where can I get a salad? I need a salad, and not a wimpy iceberg lettuce with a half of a slice of tomato and two pieces of cucumber. I need a salad, a rainbow salad, lots of colors. Making a really big salad for one of your meals, lunch or dinner every day, is a really great way to get lots and lots of healing nutrients into your body and transition to whole food plant based. But making it simple, soups. This time of year, if you're in the US, or the Northern Hemisphere, a soup is going to be difficult, unless it's a cold soup. But soups are super easy, super easy to make, whole food plant based.
Yeah, I mean, we made plant-based chili yesterday. It seems weird, but it was okay. Well, it's not too hot yet.
Yeah, yeah, broccoli soup or asparagus soup or something like that would be delicious. Yeah. And prepping. So for me, I recommend that you master one meal for a week. The next week, add on another meal, make it whole food plant based, and then start looking at recipes that you can switch. So we would have, like I said, we would order Chinese. You could still order Chinese, but get it with steamed vegetables. You don't have to get one that has meat in it. When you go out, like, you could get a fried rice with no meat. You can get a vegetable fried rice. You could get stir fried vegetables over, I don't know, you can get any, so many different things when you go out to eat. If you order Chinese, if you go and get sushi, you can get vegetable sushi. I've gotten it plenty of times, without any fish in there. And while you're there, get some edamame. They have wonderful sides and stuff that you can get there too, and the ginger salad, of course. And then you go to eat. What's something else that you go out to eat? Go out to eat pizza. You can get pizza without cheese. It sounds crazy, but a lot of places have a delicious pizza that doesn't have cheese.
Yeah, just load it with vegetables and marinara or pizza sauce, marinara sauce, and
I had pizza last night.
yeah, even Chipotle. I mean, they have some good vegan meals and
Yeah, that's one of our favorite places to go if we're out on the road.
mhm.
Chipotle is so easy to make a whole food plant-based meal. It's all whole food ingredients, right? There's no processed breading or anything like that. I wouldn't get the burrito. I would get a salad or a bowl.
Yeah. And then if you have one of those, like in my area, we have like a home cooking buffet, like it's a bunch of vegetables. That's a place you can go.
Oh yeah, my daughter's favorite restaurant used to be Ruby Tuesdays. That was
Oh yeah.
before the pandemic. I think Ruby Tuesdays has changed since then, or might have even closed. I don't know, but it was her favorite because she could go and just make a huge salad with lots of peas, and they had the nuts and seeds at the end of the line, and lots of different vegetables to put on top. Well, I like to roast vegetables, just roasting a bunch of vegetables. And if you need to fill in a meal, like you're still feeling hungry, throw in some more roasted vegetables. But you have to eat a lot We forget, how many calories and how much fat is in a piece of meat. So if you're a big steak eater, I was a big steak eater. That is a lot of calories and fat that you need to replace if you're trying to maintain your calories, because you don't want to undereat either and under get too few nutrients. You still need to make sure you're getting all the nutrients you need. And so replacing that is going to take, a lot of vegetables. It takes a lot of vegetables to make up for the calories and fat in steak.
Yeah, it's also one reason why this way of eating is makes it easier to lose weight
Yeah.
because I mean you can eat it's more of a volume, like a volume diet because you have to eat a lot of vegetables like Jennifer was talking about. And I like, add some fruit, some whole grains, but you would you it's still hard. I have to like make sure I get enough calories. Even I've been doing this for a long time. I'll
Yeah.
track some days just to make sure I'm getting enough because you can eat a lot of food and you're still at maybe 1,700 calories for the day. It's like, God,
Yeah,
okay.
a giant salad could still be like 400 calories.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
right, right. So some things that I like to do to make it easy during the week. So I've been completely whole food plant-based, 100%. At least since January of 2017, but longer than that, I think. Anyway, things that I always do, I always have a giant salad. So in those really big mixing bowls, I always have a rainbow salad in the fridge, just ready to grab and go. I also always have at least one salad dressing, probably two, or even three in the refrigerator. One of those could be a cashew cheese or a sunflower seed cheese. So you can even make a cheese with potato and carrot if you don't eat nuts and seeds. I know some people don't eat nuts and seeds, but I like to have a couple of dressings. I like to have a hummus or something like a hummus in the fridge. And I like to have roasted vegetables. So as long as I have those in the fridge, I can have my chia pudding for breakfast. I can have a salad with one of those sauces and a dip on the side for lunch. Make it big. You want to make it really big. And then for dinner, I can have roasted vegetables. I can put some of the roasted vegetables on my salad. I could put those roasted vegetables on pasta and top it with marinara sauce. I can put those roasted vegetables on a pizza. That's what I did last night with a pizza sauce. Right. And so make it as easy as you can. What are some things that would be really good for you?
I'm glad you say that because a lot of people, if you don't plan, you're going to fail because you'll go out, you'll be really hungry, and you'll eat something that's not on the diet. That happens a lot. So you need to have food prepared. I mean,
Yeah.
Jennifer's really good at batch cooking on Sundays, right? You do that?
I used to. I've gotten off schedule, but
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. I try to prep something every day because it got to where I didn't want to spend, one day in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste my whole day. Not that that's wasting your day, but I don't want to spend the whole day in the kitchen. It's much easier for me if I just spend an hour each week. So I'm already cooking dinner. So while I'm cooking dinner, I'm also prepping something else to make tomorrow easier. And so maybe I'm prepping dinner and I'm low on a salad dressing. Why don't I go ahead and make a salad dressing while I'm waiting on dinner to have for tomorrow? Go ahead and make breakfast for tomorrow while I'm cooking dinner. So I try to do multiple things all at the same time. So I'm going to be in the kitchen for 1 hour. Maybe you don't have an hour, maybe you'll have 30 minutes. Make a super quick dinner, make a sauce that can double. It can be dinner, it can go on your dinner tonight, it can also go on your salad tomorrow.
Yeah.
And make your breakfast. I always make my breakfast the night before, because I like to just have it ready, grab and go.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I've been experimenting with lately is I'll make a vegetable soup because it lasts for a few days, so it's something you can grab. I
Yeah,
always have fruit around, especially now when the summer's here. The fruit's coming in, it's always have oranges, apples, bananas, berries. I usually eat that for breakfast, some kind of fruit. And then dinner, sometimes we'll go to the Chinese. I get the steamed vegetables and tofu with steamed rice, and then I actually I've been making this mashed potatoes plant-based recipe. It's pretty good. There's so many options, pretty much everything that you've ever eaten, you can make it plant-based.
yes.
And when you learn that, you see that there's a world of possibilities that open up. So it's not a diet of lack. It's a diet of really abundance when you get down to it because the nutrition, the micronutrients on this diet is unmatched.
Yes, yes. So when I put people on a reset, I know you have one coming up soon, and
Yeah.
I have one coming up soon as well. It's crazy to me how many people in just 3 days, they're like, I have so much energy, my skin's clearer, I can see better, I have less pain, my shoulder pain went away. And it's just amazing in just a few days because we're eating in a way that's cutting out those inflammatory foods. So that's the real thing. So once you start feeling good, it makes it so much easier to stick to it. And another thing is when I have clients that, they go on their own merry way, and then all of a sudden the pain comes back, I just have to remind them, hey, remember how good you felt when you were eating this way? And it's easy to fall off the wagon, but if you do, you go back to the recipes you used before, go back to what you did before, and you can get right back on track. Because no one's perfect. No one's perfect. Like we said in the very beginning, some people, they still want to hang on to their chips, right? And so I don't want you to have chips every day. But I love a taco salad, and I found I like Siete Foods chips. They have some grain-free chips. So when I have taco salad, I'll have that. Now, do I have it every week? No. But every few months, maybe I'll have those Siete chips. They're not whole food plant-based. Even though they're grain-free, even though they're made out of a plant, they're still a chip. I can't grow a chip out in the yard.
I like that you said that because I think a lot of people, if they believe they can't, if they believe that they're not going to be perfect, then it's not worth it. But look, if you're eating plant-based most of the time, you're going to be so much healthier than if you never switch, if you just stay on the sad diet the rest of your life, because the sad diet is the catalyst of most of our modern lifestyle diseases. You name it, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember Dr. Schultz would say, it's what you eat 5 days of the week. He used to say it to people. I don't completely agree with that because
Oh
some
yeah.
people can do a
Not
lot of
great.
damage on the weekend. So you
Yeah.
have to learn yourself, and know how
Yeah.
much would I eat on the weekend if somebody told me that. But anyway, my point is, you got to eat better than you are now.
Don't beat yourself up if you're not perfect.
No.
Right. If you are healing, you have cancer, you have autoimmune disease, and you have visible symptoms, or you feel maybe they're not visible, but it's an invisible illness. If you have those symptoms, though, you want to be 100% as much as possible, right?
Mhm.
So I hear people that say, you do everything in moderation, or do an 80-20 rule, 80% on track, 20% not. Well, in my opinion, if you are, at stage 4, you need to be 100%. You need to be 100%. Once you get your symptoms under control, once you're feeling better, once you get those all good signals, then you can go back and start adding in some of those little things, but not regularly. Don't make it a habit, right?
Oh yeah. It's
But
just,
just depends on where you are in your journey.
yeah, it does. It depends on, like you're saying, how sick you are, if you're just trying to lose weight, because that's the hardest thing with my clients is if I tell them that they have to be 100% all the time, they just shut down. They will
I would
shut down.
too. Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What are you willing to do today? What can you do today, and make a plan for what you can do to make things better tomorrow?
Exactly.
That's where you are for right now, right?
That's life, you gotta do the best you can each day.
Yes. Yes. And when you're thinking about what can I eat, I know for me, every meal was around a meat. It was, a meatloaf and hamburgers and hot dogs and things like that. So we have to get out of that. You can't plan a meal like that. And so it's looking at the sides. So I would have like meatloaf with green beans and mashed potatoes. That was like, I loved it, right? So I can still have the green beans and the mashed potatoes, but I need something that can replace that meatloaf that is still going to satisfy that comfort food feeling, because we have attachments to our food as well, but it's also going to be filling, kind of almost a stick to your ribs kind of thing. And so for me, it's, lentils, or making a lentil loaf, instead of making meatloaf with meat, make a meatloaf with lentils. And so there are ways that you can do that. The same thing, you know, like we talked about the spaghetti. Well, maybe I grew up eating a meat-based spaghetti that had, you know, ground beef in it. Well, I need to replace that. Well, I make a delicious Bolognese out of lentils again. Lentils are so versatile. But you can put things in there. You could maybe crumble even tofu. Some people will use TVP, which is texturized vegetable protein. I'm not a fan. That is a processed food. But that could be a good transition food for you at the moment because it feels a lot like you're eating meat when you eat something like that. But just look at what you like to eat on a regular basis and think, what can I do instead? What can I add to this instead? Like when we think about our holiday meals, for me, the holidays are the best because when we would have like Thanksgiving, my favorite thing was all the sides anyway. And so how can you make those sides completely whole food plant-based? You know, like the green beans with the cream of mushroom soup, that casserole was my favorite, but the cream of mushroom soup is not whole food plant-based. So I have to make up my own now. Now I do make um, my own cream of mushroom soup, just plant-based, not with milk or dairy.
Oh yeah, I learned on the holidays. I found there's really good resources about plant-based Thanksgiving dishes, and I've used some of those, and they're really good. I've had people at some of my Thanksgivings that were meat eaters, and they would try some of my stuff, and they would love it.
Yeah, people don't think about that as being whole food plant-based. All of it's whole food plant-based except for, you know, whatever you put in there. The dairy, if you put in some dairy in some of the recipes or you put in some meat, like don't put meat in your green beans.
Yeah, I know that drives me crazy,
Yes.
but it's not. It seems confusing at first. What Jennifer just said, most of your plant-based dishes, you're probably already eating, and if you just switch out maybe one ingredient. It's the same dish you've always eaten.
Yeah.
Green bean casserole is easy to make whole food plant-based,
Uh-huh.
and it's good. I mean, it doesn't lose any flavor.
Right.
And we
Yeah.
could go on and on about that. You could name a dish. I could tell you how to make it plant-based.
Yes. Yes. And there's lots, loads and loads and loads of resources now. Every year there's more information. And so I hope you found this helpful. If you have more tips, please post them in the comments. We would love to hear from you. If you like this episode, let us know that. Share it with your friends and family that are trying to go whole food plant-based, or if you're just maybe you want them to think about going whole food plant-based, share it with them as well. Dan and I love working with clients who want to transition to whole food plant-based. That is really what our whole mission is about, of course, as our podcast is named. And we love working with clients one-on-one and in groups. And we both have challenges coming up. I also have a membership. To work with us, you can go to Holistic Jen, that is WHOLISTIC jen.com to see me, or danthenaturalman.com to see Dan. And we both have websites, YouTube channels as well. I'm at Holistic Jen and he's at Dan the Natural Man. So I hope you'll find us there. We both share lots more information over there as well. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you'll listen again next week.